Underneath the south side of the Burrard Bridge, trucks are arriving, diggers are moving, and workers are carrying construction materials. It may look like any other work site, but this is actually the largest residential development by a First Nation that Canada has ever seen. And it's a place where the stories of Squamish history and opportunity are alive. I'm here to meet some of the people who are leading the project at Senakw. I'm given a high-vis vest, a hard hat, and steel-toed boots, and brought around to a hoist elevator at the side of a tower that is still under construction. We're going to what is currently the highest point on the site, 26 floors high, and speaking with the head of the Squamish Nation's economic development arm.
I'm Mindy White. I'm the CEO of Senakw Development Corporation.
When is the last time you were up here?
I was up here probably about 3 months ago when it was, or even longer than that, when it was floor 12. Now we're on floor 26 in Tower 3.
What does that feel like to you?
It's been a pretty amazing journey, a wild ride, and seeing the towers come to life, seeing how fast the development is going, it's words can't describe it. It's been amazing.
Welcome to Senakw.
The project broke ground in September of 2022. That was a day of celebration for the Squamish Nation, and the pace of construction ever since is striking. But the history of the site is painful.
The land was taken from the Squamish people many years ago. There was a village here, there were longhouses, there were families here, and they were forcibly removed, and the village was set fire, and they were barged up the river. So it's taken a lot of, I think, time and money to fight with the courts and the government to get the land back, and here we are today.
And this is an example of what happens, I guess, when you can get land back.
Absolutely. You look at the redevelopment, reimagining of a Squamish community, a modern Squamish village, but it's not just to benefit Squamish people. It's actually a greater benefit conveyed to community. It's bringing back housing for people, for Vancouver. We're in the middle of a housing crisis, and this is part of the solution.
It's a historic project. The history that, was not a good history.
This is George Himian. He's a Squamish Nation member and the Vice President of Indigenous Relations for Peak Construction.
When we're long and gone, there's going to be Squamish Nation youth and their children's children living here in this village. You can't help but feel proud.
And tell me more about recruiting Indigenous people to work on this project and the construction of this project, because that's kind of your department.
The Squamish Nation has indicated to us that it's no longer acceptable just to bring in low-skilled workers, have them work for the duration of the contract, and leave as low-skilled workers. By connecting them with the different trades and having discussions around career paths, we can blend both the education and the work experience. So if someone wants to go get a Red Seal ticket, they're on that path and they're fully supported in doing it. One aspect of that, a number of the trade contractors in Peak, they're contributing to a Squamish Nation scholarship fund, so our members can access that fund if they want to pursue a trade, and that's like, we're thinking of folks that are in grade 10 and 11 and 12, so as part of our outreach to them, we're not just here at the construction site, we're in the community, we're trying to get them jazzed about a trade, right, and then let them know that they can be supported in that.
There's a sense of optimism up here, but some residents below are not feeling it. City of Vancouver rules for building height and density don't apply at Senakw, and some Kitsilano residents say they weren't adequately consulted before the Squamish Nation decided to build more than 6,000 units across the 11 towers. Here's Mindy White again.
The original concept was for lower density, but you do realize that it is nation land, it's on reserve, so we don't have the same limitations as other areas within Vancouver. So the nation is using this land to advance its economic independence. So that's where the concept of densification, 6,000 units, came from.
One of the things people have been critical about with this development is that you get 6,000 units but only 800 parking spaces. How does that work?
That's right. So it is a site that's built on the walkability of the site, having amenities close by where you can live and play and work all within the parameters of the site. There is also a bike hub, or a bike storage space beneath the buildings, so lots of bike storage, and then encouraging the use of transit. So there's a transit hub that's planned for the Burrard Street Bridge as well.
And what kind of negotiations have there been with TransLink about that? Because right now, I mean, the only bus I know that comes down here is the 22.
That's right. So we're in current talks with TransLink. Yeah.
And what are you hoping for?
Oh, I'm hoping that through the transportation and transit that most people will choose to live a lifestyle where they don't need a car. They don't have a car. There will be car share programs if they do need it, but it's focused on green living.
And do you expect, I mean, I know that parking is already severely restricted in the neighborhood, so you're not expecting any conflict with the neighborhood of people trying to use that as a parking space?
No, absolutely not.
Walkability is one feature of the site's design. Squamish culture is another. Jacob Lewis III chairs a committee that makes sure Squamish identity is at the heart of the Senakw development.
If you look over my shoulder, we have a trigon up on the side of the building there, and it's those type of little details that we're going to have they are very much informed through our artists, again, our elders, knowledge keepers. There's a very distinct Squamish, Coast Salish style of art. So just making sure that we're in alignment with that, we're not, being unauthentic to ourselves and to our people.
Some of these features will be visible from afar, from vantage points in the West End and to anyone traveling across the Burrard Bridge, but others can only be noticed up close. Squamish identity will feature in the wayfinding signs, the elevators, and in the landscaping. For an example that's already built, Jacob brings me to a slope that will become the entrance to the underground parkade.
Tell me a little bit about what we're looking at here right now.
So we're looking at some of the Squamish language to welcome people to the project when they come to the parkade.
And nothing so unusual about a concrete form like this, except the grain of this is really interesting.
It's a cedar grain, so it's to give the illusion of cedar, and cedar is a very important tree to our people. So we want to make sure that we include these elements in the design to represent the Squamish people. My family comes from this village, so I do it for my ancestors, I do it for the future generations. I just feel like, I have the opportunity to be that connector between those two generations. So, for me, every day I wake up, I just feel very passionate and honored to be able to be a part of this project.
I like the way everybody who works here refers to this as a village. It's 6,000 units, 11 towers, up to 64 stories, and you're calling it a village.
Historically, it was. So, really, the idea, the design, the culture, integration, we're building it from the land. So, originally it's the land to our village, to our people, and now we're looking at what that is reimagined. It's building a community.
For George Himian, that reimagining means creating a work site he calls unique. Workers receive lessons that teach them about Squamish culture, and there are other events on site too.
Wherever we have the opportunity, typically on a long weekend or where there's things like Truth and Reconciliation Day, the whole site shuts down for a lunch period, and we basically break bread, and we have our elders come to site and our community members, and they get to see the site. They also get to see and thank the workers. So again, you have folks from all over the world coming to site, but we're breaking down and building that sort of Squamish Nation specific cultural awareness. We believe we're sort of blazing a bit of a trail that can be adopted on other construction sites throughout the greater Vancouver area and across Canada, really. So.
That is being noticed. Senakw says they're sharing their learnings with Indigenous communities around the world so they can work with industry partners on their large-scale projects. And by the end of this year, the first units here will become available to rent. 112 years after Senakw village was burned to the ground.
What would your ancestors think about what's going on their land?
Well, we hope that not only that they're proud of the work that we're doing and the legacy that they helped create through their decisions and their efforts and their life's work, but that they see themselves in it as well. There's two sides to the story. It's learning the history of the Squamish people, bringing a presence back onto this land for Squamish families, sharing our art, design, culture, language with the broader community so that people learn the history of the land and really get to enjoy the benefits of living in a modern Squamish village. The other side of it is economic reconciliation. So the power of partnering with First Nations in Canada to do large-scale projects like this one that benefits not just the First Nation, but the broader community. And that's the other side of the story.
Stephen Quinn, CBC News, Senakw Village.